wish you were my special ed teacher. You seem nice. Oh, thank you. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. It has been a hot minute since I've sat down and just talked at you guys. I have been doing vlogs recently, and honestly it's just like the easiest way for me to get a video up. I do it on my iPhone, I have iMovie on my iPhone. It's just like a very easy process, but I felt like I wanted to sit down and catch up with you guys. First of all, if you noticed, my username has changed. I've had Rachelkins, that username, since I was like 11. That was my AIM username, MSN Messenger, very old school. I just felt like I needed something a little bit more mature. I got married recently, you know, I've had a baby, I'm a teacher. Like, I just felt like I needed something a little bit different. And Mrs. Dorkewicz is actually my nickname at my school because my last name is Norkewicz. Dorkewicz, you know, it's just, I guess, a natural nickname for me. Today, I thought what I would do, I posted a lot of videos during the summer about special education in general, how my first year was, what I wish I knew. I've been noticing on my videos that I get a lot of questions, and I thought I would answer those for you today. Let's see here. So the first question that I got, it's from CCTM, and it was on my teaching tag video, and it was, why did you become a SPED teacher? So basically why I became a SPED teacher was, first of all, I was required by my state that I was getting my license in to get like a concentration in something other than elementary education, because they knew that teacher burnout was super real. They wanted a getaway car, I guess, for some teachers. If they're not into elementary education, or if they feel like they've burnt out, they can go down a different avenue, a different path. And I decided to do a double licensure in elementary education K through 6 and special education pre-K through 12. The reason why I did it was because I actually had an auditory processing deficit when I was a child. It was because I was squeezing the umbilical cord in my mom's womb, trying to get like an adrenaline rush, I guess. My mom only knows this is because she went into her normal, you know, sonogram little scan thing, and they realized that my heart rate was like dropping and then going up and then dropping, and so they tested her for a little while because they were concerned, and they realized that I was squeezing the umbilical cord to pass out and then wake back up, because apparently that's an adrenaline rush, and apparently that's more common than you would think. I had an auditory processing deficit because of that. I was restricting the oxygen to my brain. My brain was not as developed as it could have been, and so I had special education classes and an IEP from like pre-K through about 5th grade. All those teachers that helped me throughout the way really inspired me. Now more that I look back on it, it's pretty incredible what those teachers helped me accomplish and where I am today, going from a shy, timid, I literally didn't speak at all little child to what I am now, which is a confident special education teacher that makes videos on YouTube. So here's another one from Stacy Walker. It says, I would love to find out how you do classroom management. So thing that stays consistent for me is the point system, and basically this is a whole group point system where I see my students are doing really well and I recognize them and I give them points as a group, and each, you know, I guess number, like I go by hundreds, they earn a different incentive. It really does encourage some students to encourage other students to do well. Like I have a student this year, he has difficulty transitioning from preferred to unpreferred activities. So like when he's on break and then getting off of break and going and transitioning to another subject or another activity, he has a hard time with that. And I noticed that with the point system, all the children in my classroom are encouraging him, hey, you're gonna earn points if you transition right now, because, you know, Mrs. Norkewicz gives us points when we transition. So it really does encourage the students to lift each other up and remind them, you know, what a good student looks like. Then comes the negative behaviors that you want to squash. I've done a variety of things throughout the years. I've done the color system where I have like an iPhone and each day they either get a green, a yellow, or a red. I've done that in the past, and it didn't work as well as I wanted it to, so I decided to incorporate a reverse token system. And basically what I did was I had a cup for each student with 5 tokens inside. Every day is a fresh start. Every child gets 5 tokens at the start of the day. And for every behavior that is not ideal, that they know is not what the expectations are or what the class rules are, they lose a token. And I always try to remind them that I'm not taking it away. You have lost that token. You will receive that token back. And I always give it back if they turn around the behavior or if they show that they are redirecting their behavior, if they are actively trying to get back on task, to follow directions, even saying sorry if they said something kind of mean to another student or to a teacher. If they say, oh, sorry, then they will earn the token back. And I've only done that a couple of years because it depends on class to class. Some classes I don't need that. Some classes I do. So that's kind of my classroom management style. I really try as much as I can to use positive reinforcement. I know a lot of teachers use Class Dojo. I know a lot of teachers, and I've been so inspired on Instagram, like the kerplunk. Oh, that looks so awesome. Or the spin it to win it sort of thing where they have a spinner. There's so many different ideas on Instagram that I just want to try all of them in my classroom, but it's a case-by-case basis, really. My classroom management, the only thing that stays consistent is the point system. Other than that, it varies from year to year. Another question that I get is, do you have any teacher assistants in your classroom? If so, how do you manage them? So this year's a little different. I have a student with diabetes, so there is a specific IA for him because of his health, because it needs to be monitored consistently across all settings. So my IA for him follows him everywhere. And then there's another IA that's assigned to me for the rest of my population. And the way that I manage them, I am very straightforward with my delegation. I make sure that I present to them their schedules very explicitly. We go over the IEPs together, make my expectations clear, kind of what my classroom management style is, what my philosophy is. I think the only way to really manage teacher assistants is just to be as explicit as you can. They are there to help you. They're like your co-teachers. I implement my IAs as much as I can. I have them be my co-teacher. They run stations. I consider them like my other teacher, like my teacher, co-teacher. You know, we're teachers together, we're a team. Someone is working on earning multiple subject and special ed mild to moderate credentials simultaneously. Which group of students do you work with the most? Mild, moderate, severe, and how do you feel about inclusive classrooms? Gen ed students and sped students in one class. So, this is a hefty question. I work with a broad range of students. My job title is multiple disabilities teacher. Basically, there are two categories within Virginia. There's category A special ed teachers and category B special ed teachers. So category A special ed teachers are mainly learning disability teachers. They are teachers that help students with learning disabilities be included in the classroom as much as possible. They have less hours of special ed support. They have less hours of pull-out support. Then there's category B teachers, which is what I am. The students require more special ed services. They require more pull-out time. It's typically a little more severe. I would say I have moderate to severe disabilities within my classroom. This year's a little different. I have a really broad range of students. I have some students that only have 1 to 2 IEP goals, and then I have other students that have 10 plus. It really depends on the child. I have a lot of students that are being pushed in for math and language arts, and they do have special education support with my IA. And then I do have 4 to 5 students that I pull based on their needs, based on if they need language arts support, writing support, reading support, any of those things. I would classify my situation as just like, I have the gamut. I have anywhere from, students that are almost fully included in the classroom, don't need much support, to pretty significant support. I'm pulling them out and giving them support consistently. So it is kind of a weird year. For the most part, I do have typically more severe, moderate to severe pull-out. So that was a lot. Then I get distracted on my phone, sorry. What I wish I knew my first year teaching. So here's the question. So someone says, I'm in my first year and second year is so beyond my brain capacity, especially when I have 3 IEPs coming up next week. I feel ya. And going to work each day is super scary. What was the process of you choosing to come back for your second year like? Okay, so my first year was actually a very ideal year. I had 7 students on my caseload, all within 1 grade level. They were all super sweet, super amazing kids. I had a wonderful experience. I had a great mentor. I had an IA that I worked really well with. I had a co-teacher I worked really well with. So It was honestly like the ideal situation for my first year. I had so much support. My second year, I was shifted from 4th grade to 5th grade and 6th grade special ed together. So I was multi-grades, and that year nearly broke me. I had students that were very severe disabilities, very severe behavior difficulties. I had students that were very low academically, and then on top of that, having 2 new curriculums, 2 sets of students all meshed together, trying to make that all work out. I had many mental breakdowns. I had many days where I would leave and say, do I really want to come back? Every teacher has had that moment. Every teacher. I would say that my thought process going back into my next year was that this year was going to be different. New kids, fresh start. That's the wonderful thing about teaching. Every year changes. Every year it's a different group of kids. Every year it's a different situation. Every year you learn a little bit more, you grow a little bit more, and things get a little bit easier. Especially when it comes to the clerical stuff like the IEPs. It's like clockwork for me. I have a very specific layout that I do on my present level of performance page. So I pretty much just I plop in their scores, and I, say their academic strengths and weaknesses, behavioral strengths and weaknesses. By my 5th year, I have pretty much made it like clockwork. And even then, everything changes. The programs change, the software changes. So every year, I try to remind myself that the next year is going to be a different group of kids. It's a fresh start. I have learned more. I have grown. So that's pretty much my thought process going into each year, especially from my second year, which was a train wreck, into my third year, which is actually a pretty good year. Just remember that each year is different. Each year is a fresh start. Okay, so here's another question. I was curious if you are a resource or special day teacher. So again, I think this is more like, am I a teacher that pushes in and co-teaches in a general education setting, or am I a pull-out teacher? I do both. It depends on the subject. I pull out for language arts and math, and I push in all my students for social studies, science, and health in the general education setting. And another question I got was also, how often do you take data on your students' IEP goals? Weekly, monthly? Thanks. Thank you to that teaching hope. So it really does depend from child to child. It depends on their IEP goals. I typically, for reading and for math, I try to give myself a quarter to get about 5 different samples from their tests, from their classwork, from their homework. It really does depend on the IEP. And then for writing, that's the kind of tricky one, because as they get older, their writing pieces become longer, and I can't produce as many writing pieces in 6th grade as... Alright, so basically what I was trying to say before my camera was full, and then it stopped recording randomly as I was trying to explain something. Where was I? Oh, so for writing IEP goals, what I try to do, I try to have one writing piece that they're working on for about a 4 to 6 week period. What I do is I say in the IEP goal that they're going to get a 3 out of a 3 on a writing rubric, or whatever writing rubric you use in your county. I'm taking data over a quarter through 3 writing conferences with that student on one writing piece. And then for behavior goals, attention goals, I try to do that weekly. I do monitor it daily. What I do is pretty much like a probe sheet. Yes, no. Did they pay attention? Did they transition in 30 seconds? Yes, no. I hope that made sense. How many years did you go to college? I went to college for 4 years. I got my bachelor's, and I got a double licensure in elementary education and special education. I am thinking about getting my master's though. I was thinking about getting it further into special education, maybe even autism or school psychology. Haven't made that decision yet. Yeah, and someone laughed at my small group size because I have 9 students. And they said that they have 24. I have 24 in my small group, and that's just one grade level. And, reading your comments really does give me perspective on this. The philosophy of my administration, my county, my school, everything. I am blessed. I'm blessed to have the job that I have. I am blessed to have the caseload that I have. 9 students might seem a lot to me, but there are plenty of you special ed teachers out there that have it way worse than me, so. Do you ever co-teach? Yes, I do co-teach in science and social studies. It's not a co-teaching style where I am teaching it. We run stations during social studies and science, and I man one of the stations, and I am someone that is reiterating and reinforcing that material for the students, whether it be on my caseload or the gen ed students. I think that's pretty much all I got on my videos. A lot of good questions, y'all. If you have any more questions for me, please leave them down below. I would love to hear them. I honestly, I love my job. I love being a special education teacher. It is thebomb.com. I'm really happy that I'm able to reach out and be part of this community, and I've just kind of found my niche on YouTube again. It's been pretty awesome. I was makeup at first, and then in all this other stuff. I dabbled in a lot of things, but I feel like I found my calling. I feel like I found my thing. So I am so happy to be making these videos for you guys. If you have any more questions or requests, please leave them down below. I would love to hear from you guys. And I will see you all in my next video. Bye!